have so many questions, but I don't want to spoil
No worries.
the opportunity to.
No worries. How about I ask you some questions first? And if you have any questions for me at the end, feel free to ask. So, welcome back to Riverwalk Talks Philly. This is episode 6. I'm your host, Noitalumis. I'm here with Riley, right?
Yep, that's right.
How's your day going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Enjoying the weather. Enjoying being outside. It's been a minute. Love anytime it gets warm during this like desolate time of year. You see everybody and their mother out at the parks, out moving. Reminds me why I live here. So
Certainly.
pretty good day.
Those first 3 days where it was absolutely beautiful out, that was when the show was born.
Oh,
That's when I filmed episode 1, 2, and 3.
Nice.
And then
Got people in good moods, I'm sure.
yeah. And then the last 2 days I showed up here, but
Yeah.
as you know, it was such a beautiful day, and then the wind picked up,
Horrid,
the sun
yeah.
went away,
Awful.
and then it was crazy.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
but
Very different interviews on those days, I'm sure.
Yeah, people are kind of like running by, like, should I stop? It's kind of freezing.
Yeah,
I'll try to
do I
make
wanna
this
do
quick
this?
because the wind. Then we had rain. I think 2 days ago, a little bit of rain at the end. Yes, thanks so much for stopping by.
Totally.
Question 1 for you: what superpower would you want to have, and what superpower do you already have?
I cheated a little bit because I could hear you ask the other girl this question, so I kind of already thought of an
No
answer.
worries.
But if I could, any superpower, teleportation easily. I love traveling, and eliminating financial and time investment of getting around would be awesome.
Sure.
Fairly basic, but as far as what superpowers I already have, I really like to annoy people. I think it's funny, but I feel like I can annoy people without making them mad at me, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of like, the way you irritate your friends, but they're not going to like punch you at the end of it. They end up kind of being able to laugh at it. And I feel like when I meet people, at parties or again, making friends, I'm able to like irritate them with them still walking away being like, oh, that was a cool guy. No one's ever tried to fight me or told me that I suck while I'm actively trying to like irritate them a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to get the like comedic edge on them.
It's like to get on people's nerves, but to the point of connection.
Right. Exactly. And like at the end of it, they should be laughing too. At least that's my goal. And I feel like generally I'm pretty good at that.
That's awesome. And it's like, I like to use the term razzing. Like razzing people just a little bit, like you're not ruffling their feathers.
Yeah.
You're just a little bit.
The sore spots pretty quickly and stay away from those and kind of stay in the safe terrain where you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings.
Those are the words out that I would have said as well to use that hurt anyone's feelings. Before I dove into the more philosophical side, I was more of a comedian back in my day.
Really?
Like just making, not like stand-up comedy, but just in school. I love school because I would make people laugh. Right? And it's like, if you made the teachers laugh, you made the whole class laugh. It's like you're bringing everyone into the loop. Because if someone's spacing out and not paying attention, everyone laughs. They're like, wait, what was so funny? I missed it. Let me pay attention now.
Yeah. Well, and that's the cheat code, is being able to make the teacher laugh, because the teacher's not going to be mad at you if they're getting something out of it. Whereas if it's everybody laughing and the teacher's just trying to get something done, it's annoying.
And
so
it's
again,
like respectful humor.
Exactly. It sounds like you're an artist yourself. You get it?
Yes. So question 2 for you: what do you love most about Philly?
I think. So I moved here 3 years ago, and what brought me here was the public transit and the proximity to New York, DC. But what's kept me here and what I think will keep me here for a long time is the people. I just think the attitude in Philly, which I'm still kind of warming up to myself, is just so direct, so earnest. And I really appreciate that. I feel like I get to the real sense of like who a person is very quickly. And so even some of the old timers I've interacted with, as much as they like to bust my balls, like I know they actually care about me. And it's like the adage, I don't know if you've heard it, but like people talk about Southern hospitality as being like, they'll drive past you when you have a flat tire and be like, oh, that sucks. Whereas a Northerner will like drive past you, stop, call you a and then help you change your tire. And I feel like I've experienced that to a T here, where people will call me out when I'm acting stupid, but because they actually want me to like improve, be better. So I love the people here. I think they're incredible, and I continue to be amazed year after year of what Philadelphians can do and how they behave.
Yeah, the Northeast definitely has a vibe to it.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Compared to the South and Southern hospitality or Western craziness.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term.
I've not spent a lot of time out west, so I can't even speak to them. But I'm sure it's very different than the very like breakneck. Everybody's got somewhere to be. They're just going to tell it to you like it is very quickly, so they can be on with their day. I appreciate that. It's very efficient.
I feel like it's a more grounded atmosphere here.
100%.
Because whereas on the West Coast, it's like a lot of mountains and coastal forests and a lot of desert. And when they like develop neighborhoods, it's not like, oh, there's a bunch of nature. Let's take a little nature out and put a neighborhood. They're like, oh, we could develop this land and plant a bunch of houses, and then we'll plant a bunch of nature. So it's like, it's very artificial. Or if you want authentic, genuine nature, it costs an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of pockets where people are paying, $3,000 or $4,000 per rent, and then you have people living in the city stacked up on top of each other.
Right.
And it kind of creates that dynamic where people are, less likely to stop on the side of the road and help someone change their tire.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like there's nature everywhere. You just take out a little bit and you plant, civilization. And I feel like everyone's able to connect.
Yeah,
better because of that.
It feels like we, as the people here, are kind of like moss growing out of the sidewalk. We're almost like our relationship to nature is like us being here almost in spite of it and still like making our lives out of it. Whereas, like you said, I think in the West, the frontier, you just kind of terraformed the entire landscape to be exactly what you wanted it to be. Whereas here, we're kind of just fighting with the terrain and still contending with it to this day. And I think that's cool. I think it makes the people gritty, makes the city look gritty. I mean, the buildings, the infrastructure in Philly are incredible. They're so beautiful and interesting in the way that they have to accommodate the landscape and the geography and all that. So it's
like
sick.
Even what we're looking at here, this used to be, if you viewers can't see it, but we're looking at a bunch of smokestacks on top of a big like industrial building, and it used to be like a chemical factory, but now it is the Rivers Casino. They use it as like a high-end upscale, like apartments. And like, I think they comp rooms in there for people where it's like, if you go there, you can stay there. And those smokestacks up top, they're refurbished, and now there's fire pits.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So you can like look online and see the photos. Like it's pretty awesome. That's like their community deck.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. It's like the city has a way of taking, what's old and bringing new life to it.
Right. Yeah. Something like this is not something you're going to like envision in a boardroom when you just have a blank plot of land with nothing there. Like you have to, in this case, they actually worked with what was there and it created something beautiful. As the two kind of collided with each other, the modern need for amenities, the old fashioned factory structure and all that entails.
Yeah, a lot of appreciation for the history here on the riverfront. And we're at Penn Treaty Park, which has a full history of it in itself as well, which I won't go into right now, as I'd probably be here all day on that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Question number 3 for you. How do you move forward when the past is all you've known?
Wow, that's a good question. We went like right into it. Damn. How do you move forward when the past is all you've known? I'm actually reading a book kind of about this that's talking about a bunch of different philosophers and their view of time and how that ultimately relates to the future being this like completely unknowable, unfathomable thing. So I think you kind of have to accept the radical novelty that presents itself every single day. And I think if you're it's almost like the difference between someone experiencing depression versus somebody experiencing normal, happy life, like the enthusiasm that you experience when you think of the fact that, every day is a new set of circumstances. There's, radical change that can happen overnight. Your disposition towards that unknowability, that uncertainty, I think can tell you a lot about just somebody's kind of mental state. And so I think for myself and for a lot of people, it's just, using the past to understand what might happen in the future, but also, again, embracing that radical uncertainty as like the driver of action and, reason to get out of bed in the morning. That's what's cool and dynamic. I didn't wake up this morning thinking I'd be interviewed on the waterfront, and here I am.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I didn't know that, because, let my day be new and exciting and emerge spontaneously. I hope that's a good answer.
That's a great answer. Yeah. And it's like about, walking into the unknown with confidence and in your process and taking every day, in stride. And my part of my answer to that is it's like we act all, whether we know it or not, as in resonance from the past,
Yeah, right.
So it's like every single thing that has happened to us will create what will happen to us, but we also have the power to use our discernment and understand like where we've come from and what that advantage is like that gives us and what disadvantages that gives us and where we want to go and how we combat, everyday situations. Choice is such a beautiful thing. Like you chose to come to this park today on a walk and then chose to be open enough to sit down for the interview. And here we are having a deep philosophical conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just what I needed.
And, like 2 days ago, I had some people stopped by and they're like, what are the questions? And I kind of like told them a little bit. I'll do that I like people to fly in blind if they're willing, but sometimes people need a little push,
right,
like, what's it about? Like, you aren't going to ask me about this or that, So it's like, and some people I've told them, they're like, that's too deep. I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
But it's when like you're shallow enough to walk, like you have to be shallow first to get to the deep.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Not shallow in a bad sense, but like getting your feet wet in conversation. And
relatable.
Like, these questions are as deep as you make them.
Right. Right. Totally.
On this is episode 6. On episode 5, I had three youngins here yesterday, and they were answering the questions where they weren't like, you don't need a PhD in psychology to answer.
They're
totally. Just learn every day and keep moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome.
I feel like sometimes when you are an adult, you've had so much like ingrained, so many perceptions, you're almost seeing through a filter.
Right.
Whereas like adolescents, they don't have this filter to see through. So they can honestly like hear the question and answer it more clearly.
Right. Yeah.
Without being self-conscious or like, about everything that they've been told and fed.
Right. Yeah. And there's almost like a paralyzing humility that comes with age, where I think a lot of people kind of are like unwilling to talk about those things because they feel unqualified to discuss them, where, they don't have enough of a framework going in, that they're just kind of uncomfortable in opening up the subject at all.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas to your point, I think children don't have that learned cynicism and are just comfortable with like, this is how I feel, and that makes it true and that makes it valuable. And I wish more people felt that way. That's one of the many things we lose in the transition to adulthood, that kids bring out, especially in parents, kind of seeing your kid just radically accept the world as it is without asking questions, without the cynicism. I think that's why, again, having children can be such a positive psychological force for people, on top of, the joy of parenting,
certainly,
which I'm not familiar, but I assume it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And a lot of people are like, I don't want to have children. It's like, well, do you want to have adults? Because they're only going to be a child for
right
for that. And a lot of parents you talk to, it's like those were the best years, or they wouldn't change them for anything, But it's like, you only have a child for so long. Next thing you know, they're a teenager. Next thing you know, they're an adult. Or next thing you know, they got their kids and they're coming over to your house for Thanksgiving. And it's a beautiful thing.
Hard to imagine. But yeah, it is a beautiful thing.
Back to what you were saying about how we lose like our, mental flexibility. There's this old book called the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
And it's like the flexible will remain unbroken. And it's like, as we get rigid, like more rigid and set in our ways, that is like when most of the time we're most susceptible to injury, or like our ego can be shattered.
Right.
But my grandma, she had signs of Alzheimer's, and I was like explaining to her, like as a naturalist thinker as I am, I'm like, well, we come into this world knowing nothing, and we learn stuff. So it's only natural that as we get older, we would begin to forget, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's like when we become so set or stuck in our ways, that is when we become, brittle and susceptible to breaking mentally and philosophically as well.
Interesting. I like that. Can I ask you something on that note? So I feel like something that I deal with a lot is, again, I like to read a lot. I like to accept these new perspectives. But again, as I kind of mentioned with like kids and that humility, and I'm, not trying to pat myself in the back, but I feel like the more you learn, the more you know what you don't, the more you are aware of what you don't know. And I find myself constantly in that very nihilistic kind of attitude where not necessarily that nothing means anything, but that I cannot be certain about what anything means because I've seen how thousands and thousands of people have viewed the world in radically different ways. And either they were all wrong or they were all kind of right. And so I find myself, it's very difficult to stick to any values or ascribe to any set of beliefs when you're so used to questioning them all the time.
Yeah.
So I almost envy the people that take something on blind faith and just live with it as like an accepted truth, because I feel like those are honestly often the people that end up doing things with their lives that end up changing the world for better or for worse. Whereas the kind of radical skeptics, I feel like they just end up sitting in a corner questioning everything all day and never actually acting on their principles because they are aware of how wrong they are, how wrong they can be, and how wrong any zealot is going to end up being. So as a philosophically minded person yourself, who I assume has encountered similar moments of like extreme doubt, how do you commit to anything? How do you decide what values to live by?
I have this one line in one of my songs, not even released. It's not even planned to be released, but it lives inside of me. And it's doubt. I don't know why. Every time I doubt the universe, I'm always surprised. And it's like what you said about like learning stuff and knowing something. It's like almost like you keep knowing, you think you know everything, and then you understand that there's infinitely more that you will not know than you 100%. Do know. And then it's like, there is a certain amount of faith that you have to have in the beliefs that you have and what you accept as truth, but not like a absolutely dogmatic faith where if presented new evidence or a new experience, you could change your mind. I think that is like the power of moving past analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
When you see all these things and everything could be true and everything could be false. And it's like you said, it's like everyone here, there's maybe 100 or 200 people in this park. And I'm sure they're all right about a lot of things and they're probably all wrong about a lot of things. You and I included.
Yeah, 100%.
But you don't know what you're right about or what you're wrong about until you like the question, move forward, even though the past is all you've known. It's about taking the time to walk into the unknown and to learn.
I like that.
Thank you. So my last question for you, what advice would you have for our viewers?
Oh boy.
Or what advice would you give to someone?
Again, I try and fail not to dispense too much advice because I'm like, at the end of the day, I could be wrong too. And so why live by anything I say? I guess maybe I'm trying to think if there's more practical advice I can give than just that, I think I'll stick with my point that I do think, although analysis by paralysis is a pitfall at the end of the day, I think embracing and trying to understand things that are completely either incoherent or just seem like a waste of time or nonsense to you can be extremely personally enriching in ways that you wouldn't expect. And so I think challenging your understanding of yourself as, I'm not an art person. We were talking earlier, not a philosophy person. I don't like to talk about those kinds of things. Is that true? I think people accept things about themselves and tell stories to themselves about themselves that end up kind of trapping them in their ways. And so again, I understand that at the end of the day, everybody's going to have an identity. But I think generally, I wish that people were less attached to the stories they tell themselves about themselves. And that I wish, some of my friends and people I care about did not wake up every day with like a list of things that they know about themselves and that are, again, going to kind of define how their day goes. I wish people were a little bit more willing to accept that, maybe I am an early morning person. Maybe I am a philosophy person. Maybe I am, going to go get groceries before work like I never do before. These things that, again, you kind of just accept are facts about yourself or about your tendencies. I don't think any of us are predisposed to many tendencies in particular. I think we have a radical freedom to change ourselves, through force of habit and things like that. So I would say, if I was giving a random person advice, think about the things that you wake up every day and tell yourself about yourself, and question if those are necessarily true, or if those are things that by believing them, you kind of reinforce them, but that similarly by choosing to not believe them anymore, you could possibly change things for yourself for the better.
So what I got from all that was, it's like seeing through a filter. You don't want to see through a filter. Right. Like all these perceptions that build up in the story that you tell yourself. That may be the story you told yourself in the past, but if it's the story that you always tell yourself, that'll be the only story that will be. So if you move past that and allow yourself the power to write your own story, the future is unwritten. I, for example, before I moved to Philadelphia, I moved here about last year.
Oh, wow.
And I founded my own record label, and I was looking at like states to start a business in, and I was looking at like Wyoming or like places that are like beautiful in nature.
Yeah.
And, maybe I might be 30 minutes from a supermarket or a park like with this many people.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, I'd be happy there. But then when I looked at it and did the research, like PA was in the top 10 and I had family here. I was able to move luckily close enough to the river. So I got the best of both worlds with the nature and the connection here. And believe it or not, I can be a very solitary person and not have to connect with people or like go out and party and go to clubs and go to what a lot of people go out for their social outlet. I'm just happy going to work and making friends with people and then coming home and doing my own thing. But the more I learn about myself and the more I allow myself the opportunity, I really love connecting with people. And like people in Philly, that's my favorite thing. What I love about Philly is the people and the connection. And for example, I see the group over there now, if you see them playing volleyball. So yesterday I came out here and it was beautiful for about an hour and the sun disappeared. The wind went crazy. There's barely anyone walking by. And I said, I'm not going to get another interview. I have a feeling. Do I go home? No, I'm going to walk over there. I walked over there. I set down the tripod and I played volleyball. Games for about 2 hours.
Oh my God.
And it was insane. I learned the first game. My sister's a volleyball coach, but I really don't have. The last time I played volleyball was probably in high school gym class and I sprained my ankle.
Oh, wow.
I was like, that's the last time doing that.
Yeah.
But I allowed myself the freedom and stepping into the unknown. Yeah, I got a bunch of job opportunities coming up in the next week and I already work a job and
that's
I'm
exciting.
like, well, I can't get injured. Like, and so maybe the old me would have been like, no, it's not worth it. Like, what if I sprain an ankle or like, what if I sprain my wrist and then I can't, work and pay my bills? But I was like, I'm just going to go out there with the grounded perspective and connection. And it was amazing. They were very helpful. They were giving me tips on how to actually play. I told them I don't know much about volleyball, but I'm a quick learner.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Wow. So they were like, giving me tips like face your shoulders where you want the ball to go and try to hit it with, your forearms. And
right.
I woke up this morning, my forearms are killing
it.
Yeah. But it's like, you got to give yourself, the micro fractures of life that happen. You got to give yourself time to heal them and we become stronger. And things I learned about that, you can apply to any other things.
100%.
So
wow.
the last game we played, we were losing 20-9 and we ended up winning. We were playing to 25, win by 2. We ended up winning 30-28. It was like getting dark.
Wow.
We were like,
awesome.
yeah, let's end this game before they kick us out of the park, you know? Yeah. And at one point, the other team thought they won. They're all celebrating. And we're like, no, it's tied. And we're like, oh. And then we actually what? So our team like stayed focused. We came back and we were just present going into the unknown. So it's like, if you would have told me yesterday, was I a volleyball player? I would have said no.
Right.
You told me today, I would have said, yeah.
Yeah. You did it. You went out there.
So it's like about giving yourself the allowance to experience life in its full authenticity.
I love that. That's awesome.
You have any last closing words or remarks?
No. Subscribe. I like what he's doing. I think this is cool. I also live super close to this park, so I think I'm interested to hear the conversations you have with people, because I walk around here all the time, and I do wonder what's going through the head of all these people I walk past. I feel like it could be anything. So I'm excited to hear more about what you pull out of people through your trickery of luring them in with superhero questions and then asking them about the meaning of life. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. Yeah. So
thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for the chat.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This has been Riverwalk Talks, episode 6. With your host, Noitalumis. Thanks for watching.
Rock on.
All right, that was awesome.